What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And today we're focusing on David Bennett and his near-death experience. I've got a nice little excerpt that I'm going to play for you guys from the entire NDE. And this focuses again on what he learned and extracted from his life review during his near-death experience, and three key things that we can use in our lives as key pillars to think about in our lives, to live our best lives, to do the best we can in this life. So who is David Bennett? David Bennett is an author and white light energetic healer whose spiritual teachings are grounded in near-death experience, in a near-death experience in which he drowned during a violent storm at sea, and describes entering a peaceful darkness, encountering a loving soul family, and undergoing a life review that reshaped his sense of purpose and how he chooses to live. In the years since, he's shared reflections on living an empowered, more conscious life through his writing, talks, and podcasts, and he's also appeared in mainstream media, so whatever those stories are, shows are. Now we're going to get into the NDE clip, and then we're going to talk about these three elements that he shares that he learned in his life review are key points, are key pieces of living a solid life, or living our best life. And that is self-acceptance, tolerance, and truth. And by the way, I feel like self-acceptance is essentially synonymous with self-love. And that's cool because that's a recurring theme that we've seen across these different NDEs. We had another NDE in a couple days ago that I covered that talked about this idea of self-love. As I mentioned before on the channel, Pink Tourmaline, this stone that I wear around my neck, the name of the channel, is emblematic of self-love. And I think I picked this stone for a reason. Again, I went to the crystal shop. I told the story before, and they just said, let the crystal call to you that you want to buy to wear around your neck. And I came to this one. It's not even a full crystal. It's like a broken half crystal, but for whatever reason, it called to me and I picked it. I've been wearing it ever since. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then self-acceptance, tolerance, and truth are this trifecta of important pieces that he mentions that he got from his life review. So we'll hear the clip and then we'll talk about it afterwards in terms of what I think all this stuff means for us living our best lives.
Right away was that life review taught me was acceptance of myself. Being in your mid-20s, you don't really know who you are. But having that life review, I suddenly knew who I was, and I could accept it. This is who I am. You know, I'm not the greatest person walking this earth, but I can do better and I can work on myself. So acceptance of who I was. And then tolerance of others, tolerance of where I am in my life, of the situations that I find myself in, because I may not be happy with where I am or where I'm going or this or that, but I can change that. So acceptance of myself, tolerance, and then one that was a little harder to grasp at the time was truth. I saw that we all experience truth. There's the factual truth that I learned as an engineer when going to school and that sort of thing. But then there's a personal truth that our heart recognizes and our heart resonates with. And so I just took those three things: acceptance, tolerance, and truth. And they were my mantra. And that's what I grabbed onto. And I tried to let go of everything else.
Okay, so I'm going to try and break down the best I can. It's not super clear exactly how everything fits together, but I'm going to do my best to try and interpret and also put my own interpretation or my own spin on what he's saying. And hopefully I can bring everything to light in a way that makes sense. So let's first talk about self-acceptance, aka self-love. And I talked about this in the other video where I was discussing self-love. I think there's two pieces to this. Number one, self-acceptance or self-love definitely centers around this idea of accepting yourself for both your positives, your pros, and your faults, because we all have faults and we don't want to acknowledge them, me included. Is a very difficult thing. So I think that requires us to say, hey, let's step back and let's step away from this ambition to be a perfectionist, to be perfect, or to be viewed as perfect, and let's accept our flaws. And then I think the other component is to really love yourself, at least at a minimum. Maybe you're not doing everything perfectly, but you're trying and you're doing things in an honorable way, I believe, so that you can, at the end of each day, sit back and feel proud of what you've done, feel proud of how you've, not only things you've accomplished, but how you've treated people. And this, I believe, is that two-part formula, in my estimation at this time, of the self-acceptance, aka self-love. Now, when he talks about tolerance, I first thought he was saying tolerance of other people or other situations. But I think what he was implying when I listened to it again a couple times is I think he's talking about tolerance of his own personal situations and saying, hey, I may not be perfectly happy or content in this moment, but I'm going to tolerate it. And of course, I can change it and I'm going to do my best to change it. But if I can't, I will be tolerant. So to me, that is, I think, akin to a way to having some sort of an optimistic viewpoint about life in general and enjoying what you have and being understanding of the things that you don't have and the things that you want but don't have, and maybe striving for them but not getting too wrapped up in those other things. So just kind of plotting forward with the positive mentality. That's how I'm interpreting it now as I'm listening to it again. And last component is truth. Now, he didn't exactly, again, explain how truth fits into it. Is this something that we should be striving to always seek truth, to always tell the truth? What is it when he said that this is the trifecta of important elements and truth is one of them? And he said truth resonates with his heart. I believe what he's trying to say, maybe one portion is, yes, obviously, certainly I think anyone would agree that we should aim to be truthful in general. I think that's a intrinsic gravitational pull for all of us in terms of like living a good life. We want to tell the truth. We want to be honest with people. We don't want to manipulate people, etc. But I think there's something else to it where he mentions this resonating in the heart. I think that what he's trying to say there, or what he's alluding to, is that we actually can sense truthfulness or deceptiveness from our heart. And maybe we all have the same ability, and to like a perfect degree, but it's been muddled, it's been dampened by whatever else is going on in our lives, whatever experiences we have. But ultimately, we should have that ability, I believe, to sense truth in our heart, in our mind, in our feelings. And perhaps that should be something that we should strive for, to trust in our instincts when we're having conversations or discussions or interactions, and let that be a homing beacon for us. And of course, maybe wrapped up in there is, like I said before, to try to strive and always be truthful. I feel that a lot of dark paths that people go down in this life on this planet begin with a compulsion to be deceptive. I think like you can even look at what is at the heart of a lot of crimes and criminal activity. It is either lying to yourself about what's okay and what's not okay. It's lying to other people to get what you want. That manipulation, same thing. It's all these deceptive practices. So I think when we strip away a lot of these desires to be deceptive, or strip away any deceptive behaviors, I think that stops people from going down further and further and deeper and darker paths to doing more and more atrocious things. I mean, you could imagine if some of these people that are really perpetrating some of the most terrible things on the planet, if they were forced to be transparent, or imagine if everything they were doing was put on display, there's nothing to hide. I imagine a lot of people would be stopped in their tracks and would immediately shift out of shame, out of exposure, and that could do wonders for them in living a prosperous and positive life in this lifetime. So anyways, when we come back to truth, I just want to say, like, if I don't exactly know if I'm characterizing what he's saying about truth exactly right, but I will expand on that and say, yes, truth is, my estimation, one of the most important things in this life to strive for, is to be, we can't all be perfect, but to strive on a daily basis to be truthful in all of our interactions, really. Like I said, can't be perfect, but that's it. That's a great goal. So anyways, there we go. I thought this was a powerful video. I wanted to share it. I thought his background is interesting as well, being an engineer. So self-acceptance, tolerance, and truth. And there it is. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.